The oil palm is the most productive oilseed on the planet. 1 hectare planted produces between 6 and 10 times more oil than the others. Colombia is currently the 4th largest producer of palm oil in the world and the 1st in the Americas in our country. According to Fedipalma, oil palm cultivation is found in 161 municipalities of pension departments, and the north of Colombia and the eastern plains are the regions where this type of crop is most produced. Oil palm crops in Puerto Gaitan, Meta. We are located at kilometer 38 or Viaduct Rubiales on the left-hand side. 17 kilometers there we found the Sayatava plantation, and together with the San Sebastian Extractor Company, which is part of the same group of companies, it was contemplating 1,000 hectares of planting and 350 hectares of planting. It was really a big challenge because it was the only plantation that existed at that time. Practically it was that Puga, and the experience we had developed was based on what they had achieved. Well, the palm we work with is African palm. We have Montalbano material. That is the name of Montalbano. And an IRO material that it gives, and for Ghana we forgive an IRO material that comes from another origin. We do not really have African palm, and we only have African palm because these are materials that produce well in this area. We tried to choose the genetic material that can withstand the summer, which is the most limiting thing here. They have been really good, nutritionally we have to learn to manage them, because it is one thing to produce a material in the Piedmont Llanero and another thing in this condition. But basically it is African palm. Perhaps the biggest challenge, what I remember and what I talked to the people who were there at that time, was to be able to start the operation, with all the difficulty of the roads, even from Villavicencio almost at that time. It could take about 7 hours from Puerto Gaitan to here. 6 hours from Villavicencio. It could take about 7 hours to get to Puerto Lopez. Puerto Gaitan about 4 or 5 hours, so all the logistics of bringing people here was not a palm area, so you have to create people with palm future or bring people from other palm areas of the country was perhaps the biggest challenge, and then make the technology, because there is palm at the general level for the country, but this area that has these special characteristics of soil and climate, because it required developing a technological package. We are located in a region known as the Colombian Alta Llanura. This region is characterized by having soils that are nutritionally very basic, very deficient to say the least. They are soils that come from native savannas and have low nutritional contents, high aluminum contents that lead us to make a very efficient management in the nutritional part. The part that has a very typical characteristic in the climate, and is that in the months that we consider from April to October is the time that we consider winter if we have a short summer in the month of July, which includes from December to March. It is the summer season, which is quite strong with high-speed winds, and precipitations are really almost null, with very high temperatures ranging from 30 degrees up to 35 degrees during the day in the Alta Llanura. Which is contemplated here in Puerto Gaitan in all the plantations. There are approximately 32,000 hectares of palm, so we see that the production level in this region is average, and we are talking about 10 tons per hectare per year on average in the whole region. There are plantations that have managed to reach 24 tons per hectare per year. Others are at 20 tons per hectare per year and are already productive, which is quite good in relation to the country because we are an important percentage of palm, and in the area there are currently 3 extractors. There are 2 operating that consume part of the fruit and another part goes to another area here outside the port that is in the peaks. We are really an area that sanitarily we are very well. Fortunately we do not have problems such as rotting of bud, lethal wilt, so in that sense in relation to the rest of the country we are very good productively. Actually under some plantations we have left projects that have been quiet for a while, but in general the projects that have been given management are producing between 15 tons to 20 tons per hectare per year. Well, in general our company palm trees, and we're already many. I think we have gone step by step in which each project has been planted, have been adjusting and improving technology. These plantings Cyatavia I am here Raban reached productivity is tons per hectare per year, which is considered a good productivity, but we have also had years where we have fallen to tons per hectare per year. Let's say that we have been adjusting, especially in seeking how to mitigate the effect of summer, which is what hits the crop the most, and here we are standing on a lot where there is mucuna, which is a species that basically prevents the soil from drying out in the summer period and allows the palm not to have so much stress, so this makes the palm more productive. With these covers we manage to have more or less productivity is. We believe that as long as we improve the whole technological issue, especially how to retain moisture in the soil and how to prevent the palm from stressing, we will improve a lot. When one always cultivates the palm as it is a 30-year crop, and more so in this area where there is a water deficit and there is such a marked summer, it is necessary to look for a species that manages to cushion a little bit the critical effect of the summer. We have 3 species of leguminous plants that we have worked with, cuts, Desmodium and mucuna, and really all 3 are beneficial in the area. And we have done the first years of the crop. The whole and Desmodium are pulled up and planted in a mixed way normally, which is the best, or some said it is better to plant only Desmodium and only cuts. This crop is as important as the palm itself. That is to say, one plants a palm crop, makes the land suitable for the palm and makes the chemical correction of the soil, lowering alumina, improving the magnesium-calcium bases, always for the palm, and the same year, and if possible a year ago, the cover crop is planted so that it can take advantage of all the chemical equation that the soil has. It also takes advantage of it and manages to establish itself faster, which is what the Demotis and the cuts do, mainly because they make a symbiosis between the palm and the cuts. One mainly because they make a symbiosis in the root with a bacterium that fixes atmospheric nitrogen and contributes nitrogen to the soil and also matter, so this improves a lot the physical properties and at the same time the chemical and biological properties of the soil. What happens with these 2 cover crops has a limitation, is that in the summertime they die, and when you need them most, which is in the summer, they are not contributing moisture to the soil. So they help until December, and in January you see them dry and they die. They react more or less in April and May again, which is the advantage for the mucuna, which is where we are at the moment. In the summer season it does not die, so it does the same as the others. Maybe it follows a little less nitrogen because it does not have such a specific association as 1.5 with the bacteria, but it does not die in summer. You come here at this time and it is not in the same way, but it stays alive. So in February you make an evaluation of the soil humidity and the palm is fine, it is not suffering. That is why we have opted for the woman, because she does what the civilian does with emotion, and in addition she reserves more humidity during the summer. It is really as important the palm as the cover. If I put palms without cover, we are talking about 7 or 8 tons per hectare per year or even more. It is an integral nutrition package, soil adequacy, and establishment of cover here. The personnel that we have in charge is certified. The company gives them the opportunity when there are trainings with Senapalma Fedapalma to enter these trainings so that this personnel is exactly reliable if they are given trainings. Because the personnel that we must have in the area of health has to be reliable. Because if they are not going to have a personnel that reports what is not there, we are going to have problems in the company in the area of sanitary type. With this control, what we seek is to avoid the defoliation of the crops. As we can see here in these crops, we have many enemies such as the Ozd and Fanny defoliating pest. So we have to do a census to see how the lots are, the average number of larvae per leaf, and then make a plan to see what we can do about this control with the Aussie Funk here, for example, the census, the pest monitoring. We do it 10 by 10, for example. We send the person and tell him to go into the palms line, and there he would jump to the palms line and so on until he practically arrives. What we do is evaluate the leaf, and here, as it is an adult palm, we cut the leaf with a malayo, and what we do is that on the ground we verify all the bolls, the kind of plaque that we find. Here we have a program that registers cell phones, and there we register all the records of each larva that we find as it can be, or Tiffany did it. She took the live arm, and that work is done in the fields, and everything is registered in the cell phone, and it is taken in the afternoon. When they finish there, we can download the information that gives the tour in the points where they marked everything is completely registered. The fruits come from the area of La Cristalina, which is also part of the municipality of Puerto Gaitan. We have about % of the fruit that we receive from our own fruit. Fruit from farms, also from the group, and the rest is from external suppliers from whom we buy the fruit. The fruit from the plantation should arrive with a percentage of ripeness of 81% of ripeness. From there on we have other parameters that are green fruit overripe, and some quality issues that are the peduncle, or the part of the fruit that adheres to the palm, that should arrive as short as possible, but we have. The scale is in charge of processing the vehicles that arrive at the extraction plant. We unload the fruit, and after unloading the fruit we proceed to the process of qualification of the fruit, where we estimate if the fruit is green, ripe, or overripe. Afterwards, we proceed to destem the fruit or to enjoy it. From there on we go to a process called digestion and pressing, which is where we press the solid part and the liquid part of the fruit. This liquid part goes to a clarification process. We have a static or conventional clarification that goes through a pre-clarifier, a clarifier, and a centrifuge, which is the one used by most of the plants in Colombia, and we also have a dynamic or fast clarification that goes directly to a cancer try, and by this means we have an oil of higher quality, the part of the palm, hysteria that goes to a clarifier and a centrifuge that is the one used by most of the plants in Colombia. The palm hysteria part is conventional. We obtain some nuts, The nuts go to some almonds. These almonds are dried and we sell the palm kernels to a company that is also part of the same business group. After we make the separation of the oil, we go to the oil quality process, which is basically drying the oil. After drying, we store it in a storage tank. We have a very basic quality laboratory. What we do is basically take samples of the process, and do quick analysis of the process, how the process is working, what amount of water is being added, what illusion we have, what parameters of humidity, acidity, humidity in the almond and purity in the almond we have at the moment. And with the data that the laboratory gives us, the production personnel take corrective measures on the process, and we are taking everything to the parameters of the quality that the plant. And we hope for the future. We are at the moment making an expansion of the plant. The perspective we have for next year is to increase the capacity of our plant in tons, increasing 1% of the fruit that we can process in the area. Well, our plans for the future as companies, and we already have yellow root mouth, is to achieve in the adult palm crops to have an average production of between 2 tons per hectare per year. The younger crops we are aiming to sustain between tons per hectare per year. Yes, that is the number one to achieve economic sustainability. We believe that with the improvements we have made in the soil with the cover crops and the management of the plant's byproducts, at some point a compost was produced and applied. That is the main objective, and 2 or 3 super important ones are already broken down. In the past there was no internet, there was no energy. The idea is to provide quality of life to the people and to keep them working with us all year long. Another important point is the sustainability issue. We have been working for the last 2.5 years to achieve the CPR certification, which is a certification that allows us to sell oil in Europe, because some European countries have already restricted that if we do not have the environmental, social and labor certification, because it includes several aspects, they do not buy oil from us. We hope that this year everything will be ready to achieve the certification, which is a key point for us and also for the mill. And thirdly, in order to achieve these productivities, it is very important that we are testing an irrigation system for 92 hectares in the Salmonia farm. The preliminary results of the first year are great. Well, basically that area this year is going to close 24 tons per hectare per year versus where we do not have it. So we know that the water resource is very limited, and that we have to manage it well, but first we wanted to know what the impact is, and we are looking at possibilities. The idea of not irrigating and supplying 100% of the water is to give it a part so that the palm does not lose so much productivity, and to be more sustainable. Maybe that is what is coming. Well, we are thinking about expanding new plantings, but only if we take into account 2 things, planting palm in the soils, because in the end we have 2 conditions, highlands, which are really very limiting soils that are very difficult for palm agriculture, and normal lowland soils, which are soils with 50, 60 sands, but they are managed and produce better yields. It is better to expand plantings, but in soils that are potential for palm cultivation in areas, as far as the highlands allow it, that are easy to irrigate in some way. Agribusiness is a strong engine for the Colombian Orinoco region. In this area of Puerto Gaitan we have 3 extraction plants, of which I believe that we are among those with the highest processing capacity and the highest quality capacity. We have the highest quality of oil. We are a competitive company. we are a company that wants to continue growing and wants to continue contributing to the Alta Llanura, continue growing in their crops and continue especially giving welfare to the staff and the people of the Alta Llanura. When we see how in a Clio we have an extractor first to the same companies that are already created here, it makes life easier because they no longer have to carry a fruit 180, 200 kilometers to the plants that were near Villavicencio, but bring them here is an impact on a cost savings that can socially transmit better income for all, and for the region as such. Well, we as a group of companies in a production peak we were able to employ around 400 or 200 people and in a low period. We are talking about people, and then Puerto Gaitan was an area of oil tradition with the fall of the price of the oil barrel and what were the last 2 years. The possibility exists not only for us as a company but also for the Alta Llanura to provide employment to the people and for them to understand that not everything is oil. Although it is an important source of income, it is in crops such as palm oil, which are sustainable and important in terms of employment, if the person wants to work all his life. Here then all the people have jobs. How is it that we hire them, for example, for an indefinite term with all the legal guarantees that a company provides? For example, we provide food, we assume the transportation. So if the person wants to work in one of our companies, for example the palm tree companies, they really have all the guarantees and sustainable work in addition to the employment part. Well, when all our people arrive to Puerto Gaitan during the breaks, they spend there on hotel and tourism, food and all the fun part. Really a great part of the money they earn is not invested in the whole port, that is part of the commerce part. We have been doing a work with the communities in the resettlement part of the communities, and we are starting to see how we can have an impact on the tourism industry. We are initiating how we can have a positive impact on the communities that are close to the company, that apart from employment, there is an investment project that they want to develop, that is agreed with the company, it is evaluated and support is provided. Yes, we are also working on that. Well, I think that the palm means first of all life in the general sense. Because you see that you stop in one of these crops compared to a native wheat. Here there is life in a native savanna, you see it is grass and it does not produce anything. There is nothing here because around this an ecosystem is created, and if it is managed sustainably, there is a positive impact on the environment, and I think it means progress for the people and all of us who work with palm oil, because many people have made their life projects. There they have been able to build their houses, their personal projects, and I think that means progress and sustainability for life. As language is a crop that you plant for years, and if you want to work for years in the palm tree in our other companies, you will have jobs. Something important, because people are creating that work culture and their children start to enter the business as well. I think that in life progress and stability and sustainability for me.